think? Low or higher?
Oh, that's good. Luna, come on. Come on, girl. I'm sorry. This is, yeah, it's time. It's time. Yeah, it's time. You go lay down. You go lay down. Just not that. All right. Boy, this is sort of becoming a thing where we start recording during sound check, which I apologize for the sound. This will be probably the first video editing you'll do. Let's see where we at here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All right. There's your microphones and stuffs. All right. I think I'm going to come up on the table and get all casual like. How you doing, folks? What's that? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That sometimes affects the audio. The fluorescent sometimes. So yeah, you can tell such a big difference when you get right up on the mic.
Right.
Yeah, they're very intimate. It's like you're whispering in someone's ear. It's just kind of like, imagine if you were listening to a podcast, right? You have a busy day and you're doing stuff, but at the same time, you want to listen to a podcast. So I think that's why they do the whispering. Like, okay, I know you're working and you've got things to do, and there's people in the other room. So yeah, it's just you and me.
Yeah, no, that's the theory.
I like it because it doesn't, mess with it. It's not like singing where it stresses your throat out and whatnot.
Right.
Hey everybody, this is Wing Chun Talk, episode number 7. I'm your host, Sifu Z.
I'm Johan here.
That's my co-host. And we're here to talk Wing Chun, if you haven't figured that one out. But of course, we kind of go into a lot of stuff, don't we? I think I have a list right here that, sort of is, it's not Wing Chun direct, but to a Wing Chun man, all things are Wing Chun. And yeah, so some of the subject matter, even though it's pretty contemporary, sort of modern day issues.
Yeah.
We have this 300-400-year-old martial art that is how to interpret things.
Yeah.
In a sort of sane way. And then of course we know that, those that refuse to learn history are doomed to repeat it. And I think that's what we got going on now. We got a lot of repetition. If you know your history, you'll recognize. And I'm not talking just the Hitler Nazi thing. Right? I mean, that's relatively new. But, historically, we have all kinds of characters and all kinds of situations in various cultures that go through these sorts of times, pandemics, riots, social unrest, and it really is cyclical, man. It's not like, again, if you know your history, you see the
repeating over and over, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you see,
Mm.
now it's different. The cast of characters are different, and so the drama can often be somewhat differently shaded.
Yeah.
It all kind of boils down to the same old thing. What we're now referring to, the same old game A
Mm.
sort of stuff, sort of behavior. I was talking to you earlier about this takeover. And it's funny, as soon as I mentioned it, you had sort of, it resonated with you almost right away.
Yeah, well, I have spent some time doing some research and listening in, try to make sense. And
Listening to Alex Jones.
I have heard some of him in the past, but yeah, it's not someone I
Yeah.
listen to really. It's more a couple of Swedish guys actually I'm listening to
Yeah.
right now, or not right now, but I have over the past years, but just too busy now to get into anything like that. But
No, and bring that up closer so I can get to a good cup of coffee. Man, what are we doing drinking coffee this late at night?
But big dinner.
True. We'll look at it in a positive light to make sure that we benefit from its glory.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, imagine, if you will, that America has been bought and sold. And imagine, if you will, if it has been bought and sold many times, or at least a couple or several times, depending on your accounting. Oh. Yeah. And when you put it that way, it seems pretty obvious, especially if you're familiar with history from like World War I going onwards into the industrial age, late 1800s, the start of the industrial age, and how things drastically changed, including the population and employment. Those were the main things that changed drastically, like never before in the human history. What do you think about that?
Well, they needed more workers back then, right?
No, the industrial age created a great disparity. What happened is all the people out in the country started going into the cities to get some work because the country folk were poor, especially the famines, dust bowls, and et cetera, et cetera.
I wanted to.
Right, so they start
to factory work.
they get some factory work, and so those jobs were in high demand. You would have guys standing in lines trying to get those jobs. And eventually, as the machine kept going, it's not like they needed more people to work. Machines just
less and less
made
people.
more,
Yeah.
right? It's when they say, what's going to happen when the machines take over, when the robots they already have.
We keep thinking it's going to be some Terminator type robot.
Yeah.
Take over. That's what people are waiting for.
Yeah.
No, it's here.
So back to this takeover concept, and the whole one world kind of thing. Well, the one world thing kind of started happening, and before the industrial age. That's by the First World War is when all the infighting started. The war amongst nations was actually not a war amongst nations, but nations set to war due to infighting within the world powers. Again, if you know your history, you know that the French and the Germans and the Russians and the English were all bred together. They're all sisters, cousins, brothers, right? So we used to have, really, before the industrial age, it was much more obvious of how a very mixed people. Even if you were to, just by royal standards,
Right.
we're mixed people. So this whole thing of nationality really grew in the First World War. There were nations, of course, but they weren't looked at in the same way, I don't think. And I could be wrong regarding even there being nations, American kingdoms.
Yeah, you've done more reading than I have on this, for sure.
And I'm not a historian, but trying to quote my findings as well as I can. Oh, we knew that would happen. So I'm going to let you clean that up. Yeah. And give me your headphones. There you go. Sorry, man.
No. It's good, man.
Somebody's got to keep the ship going.
Yeah, we'll be looking at that for the rest of the show.
Well, we learn our lessons. That could rather mean we shouldn't be drinking this late at night, or it could mean that, boy, do we need to be drinking coffee at this time of night, because kind of slowing our reflexes. But the silent takeover, that's why I call it, right? It's been a slow and gradual and incremental sort of takeover and transfer, right? Transition over transaction comes to mind, but that could be a whole nother sort of episode. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
So, Gavin Menzies is a writer. He's a sort of a alternative history writer. I don't know how valid he is, scholastically speaking, but he has written several books that are at least intriguing. Like, even if some of the stuff is true, then it sort of paints a particular picture that isn't typically painted. And Gavin Menzies paints a picture of how China had once ruled the globe in the 1400s or so. So he writes between the periods of the 1400s and the 1600s. So he has 2 or 3 books out regarding the matter. Mm-hmm. And a lot of his evidence is very compelling. And some accuse him of being, a troublemaker or something, because, that the Chinese once ruled the world. It even goes as far as saying that Da Vinci, or which one came first, Da Vinci or Michelangelo? Well, both of them would apply, because they're somewhat in the same years that I'm talking about. Mm. They say that their great inventions were just copies of Chinese text, right, that were being translated into their language, because that's what the Chinese apparently did is went around and sold sold encyclopedias translated in their particular language, and they would teach them how to do stuff like, create resources from the land that they're living on.
Right.
And then the Chinese would come and get a piece of that.
Get their cut.
The word is escaping me. Contribution, that's not the right word, but they would be under a system of having to give them a percentage. Yeah. And then, and so they were apparently doing that all around the world, and therefore everything is, every modern thing is really from the Chinese.
Yeah,
that's what Gavin Menzies is sort of saying. I think that may be hyperbole. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not a historian. I have talked to some intellectuals regarding it. Of course, you can always look online and see all the criticisms regarding what he says. But again, even if some of it is true, it really paints a picture where the Chinese are much more significant and have been very significant in the world game for a long time, well before America or Europe.
Europe, I mean, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then, the wall, the wanting to keep the barbarians away. So they, when they came to port, they wouldn't let them into the city. Right.
Mongolians.
Yeah. So it really is, history is really incredible. It's a shame we don't get to really learn history in school when we're in school in that fashion, because it's just incredible.
Right. We get our version, right?
Well, yeah, you get such a watered down version, and typically. Yeah.
Well, in different parts of the world, they get different history. So we learn different history, and then
right. Yeah, the winner's history and the loser's history.
Right. It might be a little different.
They color their books a little differently.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you might want to freak out about the world takeover and the silent takeover, or the not so silent takeover. But really, it's been going on this whole time. And
it's a long-term plans.
Yeah. This is my concern, is that a lot of what happens where the people think they're out there doing something and making a change, they think they're having their own thoughts and their own rebellions. Yeah. And a lot of those are manufactured and sort of implanted in people, and there's not a lot of substance in there. It's really rough, because you get people that are pretending to care, but they don't really understand that that's not their own thought. That's not their own thinking.
Right.
A lot of people aren't looking at the data. They're just looking at an emotional event and using it for their own almost entertainment.
Yeah.
Whereas if you see something, and it could be horrific and horrible and may need, to come to justice, you still have to look at the metrics. You still have to look at the data, the reality of a situation before you can then commit to burning.
Yeah.
Like, hey, and I'm all for burning down the house, taking down the bad things, doing away with the bad things. but you certainly have to have something in their place, because then you're just constantly filling holes. There's a reason why there's a bad thing happening, and just stopping the bad thing isn't a long-term solution. Stop.
Right.
Yeah. Understanding why the bad thing is doing the bad thing, and then dealing with that root cause. So Wing Chun is just like that. It's getting to the root cause. If I want to stop you, I'm going to uproot you. If I want to stop you, I have to focus and get rooted myself. If your roots are weak, then it will be easy enough to uproot you. But if both roots are weak, then what's the sense, right? And that's what I'm seeing is two weak roots struggling in fertile soils.
Right. You're talking about kind of left, right now, or
A and B.
Two A and B. Two camps
Yeah.
arguing, 50-50.
I almost can't allow a concept of left and right, liberal and conservative, because those words are meaningless. I even think black and white are meaningless. Those terms are absolutely.
I believe it's all for creating diversity.
Well, diversity is what you have. You don't have to create it. That's what we have. You have to accept.
Well, division of people, right? So we have the race thing going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have Republican, Democrats. It's always seemed to be close to a 50-50 now election. From what?
That's all so fictional to me.
How can that always be? Exactly.
That's all so fictional. Yeah.
How can it always be so close, like 50-50? That should tell you that it's, yeah. Give us two sport teams.
I'll give it this. The protesters are perhaps slightly less fictional than what they're protesting against, which is entirely fictional, entirely self-serving. Well, that is if you belong to the right community. Self-serving to community. Now, this is not new, and I'm not even going to put a judgment on it. Who's to say that's not the right or wrong thing to do? We can really go on and on about that, but
because what are we going to do instead, right?
Yeah, right.
What are we going to fill it with?
Exactly. What are we going to, it's
transition into.
Transition. Thank you. That's where people need to just kind of breathe and relax, take a day off, man. Let your brain kind of gestate. Because if some of the main issues are health and economic security, right? Housing.
Yeah.
Well, so to a great extent, universal healthcare, let's say universal basic income. Now, that used to be a great debate. I think you'd be retarded to debate. First of all, we have various forms of welfare.
Yeah.
Well, you just transition, right? You tighten up some things here and there for the transition, right? It's not like all of a sudden the completely different.
No.
What you're doing is really just making the systems that you have and make them better.
Right.
You know, we're advanced enough and we're rich enough that all people should be able to at least have the basics in life, and then you work hard for everything else.
Yeah.
And that's already happening, except the problem is the corporate welfare folks think they're better than the low paid welfare recipients.
Right.
So the silent takeover, then what's going on now, it's not a new thing, man. So not if you know your history. Now, it's not to say that there shouldn't be concern, right? Because even though this has happened before and that's not new, or that's not all that new, there might be some new components in it, right? Technology, AI. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be concerned. And concern meaning how are we going to respond to it instead of ignoring what's happening, right? How do we respond to it? So the California DMV being down, that was very concerning.
Yeah, it does. You were just telling me about that today. The whole website.
I've even filed to try to get my money back for the registration, because they just you can't get in touch with them. No website, no number that anybody answers.
Right.
It's a mess. We might be delaying our California trip, or taking a different route if it gets any nuttier.
Yeah. No, we'll watch it closely.
Yeah. I guess the COVID issue as well, right?
Yeah.
We had to watch that. We don't want to be coming from a low COVID case state and diving into a high COVID state.
Right.
That would be kind of silly.
Yeah.
And do we know to what extent COVID is valid? No, we don't. We're just like everybody else.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we're not creating our own realities here. We still have to deal with the restrictions and all the things that are going on, right, regardless if it's how true it is or not. Yeah. I mean, we're certainly not ignorant to the numbers, the strangeness of the numbers, right? More people dying of flu than COVID. Right. The conspiracy this is mostly old folks that are in power, trying to protect themselves. That's sort of almost a conspiracy angle. Be true. I don't know. Yeah. So this sort of stuff, man, what we do know for sure is that, like, knowing self-defense certainly isn't going to hurt, and will probably help if you ever have the unlikely event that you have to use self-defense. So, like we were talking about last episode, which is immune system, how just making sure that you're getting your rest, whatever that amount of rest may be, and making sure that you're getting a nice balanced diet, or at least getting the best food that your budget will allow for, even if it's free. Like, even if you're out there getting free food, you can always trade and upgrade bad food for good food with somebody in line. There's somebody out there that really doesn't care for those potatoes or those carrots.
Oh, it.
They'll trade you some sugar and some candies and some desserts. Right? Yeah. So whatever your budget is, man, just try to get the best, the highest nutrition foods that you can get for your money. And if you need to eat a lot of food, then invest in big bulks, like bulk foods like potatoes. You can eat a lot of potatoes like Elvis did.
Oh yeah,
yeah. He was a potato
sandwich.
Potatoes. And then you got pastas, you got rice, you got beans and stuff like that. Nice filler stuff where you can make a lot of. It's inexpensive. And then you sprinkle on little bits of nutritious foods if you only got a little bit, right? If you can't afford to eat a lot of meat, then just get 1 day's portion of meat and spread it out to 7 days.
Yeah.
But spread it over your various bulk foods, rices, beans, spaghettis, whatever, right? And man, you could really stretch things out that way. So you never knew Wing Chun Talk would give you culinary advice. So now, in connection with what we're talking about, I want to talk about high and low productivity days. That's something I think folks need to get a grasp on. Now, Game A, the world we kind of live in mostly right now, is you sort of get yourself into the habit of doing whatever has to be done. You got to get up, get to work, take care of the kids, watch your TV show or whatever, and go to bed, do it all over again. And you pretty much have to follow that regardless if that's what nature not, right?
Yeah.
Regardless if you want to go to sleep, regardless if you want to wake up. So this is taxing on the immune system. So
huge.
Yeah. So what you want to do is if you can, you want to try to listen to your body. You want to try to get the amount of sleep that your body is probably telling you to get. You want to eat the amount of foods and the types of foods that your body probably needs. It sounds simple, especially the sleep part, because oftentimes we can't control our sleep. Maybe the outside, it's too loud, it's very hard, very hard. I've been in a lot of different situations where it was almost impossible to control how much or the quality of sleep that you were able to get.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. So the thing is if sleep is one of the main things to help create a strong immune system, and if having a strong immune system is the greatest defense against the pandemic right now, then wouldn't it make sense that the number one thing, the number one priority, the priority number one is to get the right amount of the right sleep? I almost said amount. The right sleep, which is a combination and quantity. Right?
Yeah.
9 hours, 12 hours, making sure you're sleeping within your cycles. Often that's about every 3 hours. So, you wake up and you sleep in multiples of 3 or whatever your sleep cycle might be. Typically it's about 3 hours. Right. So the number one thing we should all be doing is making sure we're getting the nice quality rest. Now, here's the problem, especially in America. We want to be high producers. We feel that we need to be producing. We need to be doing. We need to be producing. Why? Because we're part of that Game A thing where you force yourself to get up. You force yourself to go to work. You force yourself, right? I'm not saying that's all bad. I'm saying at the moment, during these times, if our immune system is the most important thing to keep us alive and healthy and safe, shouldn't that be priority number one? But you have this thing called productivity. So here's a nice way for me to look at productivity in of all that we're talking about here. Some days you have low productivity days, and some days you have high productivity days. And you don't want to get down on yourself when you're having a low productivity day. That's huge, because getting down on yourself causes stress. Stress isn't what is, it's the wrong kind of stress, right? When you have the energy, you can receive the right kind of stress that motivates you into action, inspired action. So this is a wonderful opportunity for us to sort of not be so productivity oriented and really being more intuitive and creative, like the folks in Burning Man or something. I don't know. Maybe not that intuitive and maybe not that creative. There's a line, you know.
Yeah.
Definitely not that drug laden. Yeah. So, and really appreciate when and acknowledge when you have those high productivity days, right? Acknowledge them and really cherish them. Don't just blow them off, right?
Yeah, that's key.
Yeah. Because they inspire you to have yet another high productivity day. You know, it really is the inspiration. Inspiring people is a billion-dollar business, multi-billion-dollar business. Right. So,
no, you've been introducing this concept to me, and I'm really starting to take it in and accept that some days you lower productivity.
Yeah.
And the fact that not being hard on yourself when that happens. Of course, if you have them every day,
if too much water starts getting into the boat, you're going to have to start bailing, like it or not. Right.
Yeah.
But at least you got a little break. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, you just kind of relax, let a little bit of the water come in, man. It's coming in anyway. I need a break. Take your break and then pick yourself up and then start bailing the water out of the boat again, you know? Yeah. You know, it's unfortunate. There are days that where just day in, day out, you're just bailing water. And that is where you get to the breaking point. That's where you get people that just can't function properly anymore. Because they don't have anybody stepping in to help them out.
Right.
And they're the only ones bailing.
Yeah.
You know, and we're a symbiotic creature, folks. So, you know, letting one person out there suffer on their own and bail on their own. Yeah, that's tough, man. And then maybe seeing, you know, maybe when you see somebody, they're in the middle of taking a rest from bailing. Maybe they're not slacking. Maybe they're just lacking the energy, the nutrition, the sleep, the love, the help. Yeah. Right. So just like Bucky Fuller says, if you walk a mile in somebody else's moccasins, you pretty much do what they would be doing. All right. It's a big argument philosophically, but I don't think there's anything to argue about. You know, I mean, it's just a loose metaphor, my God, to help you be more empathetic
Right.
towards your fellow human beings. That's not a scientific formula there. That's just, listen, if you saw the whole picture, the backstory, then you would probably understand the characters. Right? There's not a lot of bad people in the world. There's a lot of bad behaviors, bad actions and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then there are people that I think that are just made bad.
Yeah,
know?
you definitely run into them over the years. Yeah, here and there.
But I don't,
for most part.
And you got to discount that.
Yeah.
But when we discount mental illness, we have to discount 80% of the world population.
Yeah, so that's the problem there. Yeah.
Oh, what a pickle.
Yeah.
Well, there's no shortage of things to be done or things to be understood, you know?
Right.
And then with saying that, you also want to have to say in the next breath, it's not all about doing. It's also about being.
Right.
Right. So doing peace and being peace. Ooh, now I'm getting saucy.
Mm.
Yeah. Or, doing Wing Chun, being Wing Chun.
Yeah.
That's huge. Because there is just the doing of Wing Chun where you don't be Wing Chun. I think that's predominantly what you get with students. Many of them just do Wing Chun.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
That's how it begins.
It's okay. You got to start somewhere. But the goal is to be Wing Chun, to do the Wing Chun in order to know how, right? Wing Chun teaches you how to be. I hope that's not too abstract.
Yeah, rather than what to be.
Right. Because Wing Chun, there's like the song goes, there's a million ways to be. You know that there are. You know that song?
No.
If you want to sing out, sing out. If you want to be free, be free. There's a million ways to be. You know that there are.
No, but I like it. Yeah.
If you want to sing out. Yeah. Cat Stevens. He turned into a Muslim.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Whoa,
yeah, he was a popular American rock star that kind of sort of gave it up. I think he's still out there doing music. But he went Muslim.
Cat Stevens, Cassius Clay. Mike Tyson for a while when he came out of prison. Oh, no
kidding. Tyson did too?
Yeah. Well, not now, but when he came out of prison in the mid-90s.
Yeah, he joined.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was probably
to piss off America.
Yeah, I was thinking not Malcolm McDowell, the other guy, Reverend
Louis
Farrakhan. Yeah, that was probably who was involved in that. Farrakhan. You ever listen to Farrakhan?
Just short clips. It seemed like I heard more of him in the 90s, and I was really young.
Yeah,
but he kept.
Yeah, he was really popular in the 90s.
Yeah.
Is
he still active?
I don't know. I haven't watched lately, but I used to listen to him every once in a while. Just it's very inflammatory, of course, and very divisiatory. And it wouldn't be that if he weren't so correct in so much of what he's saying, right? But just because you're right doesn't mean you're right by saying so. That's an old Sifu Z quote. Me. Just because you're right doesn't make you right by saying so. Right? It kind of follows along the concept of if you're trying to not fall in a ditch, don't stare at the ditch. Right? You gotta steer away from the ditch. Right? And so it's important to know that the ditch is there. But again, now it kind of goes back to what's the solution? Go away from the ditch. Kind of like Monty Python and Holy Grail when they all start attacking the castle, and then the castle starts attacking them by flinging cows and farm animals over the castle walls. And then they all turn to one another and say, "Run away, run away." So, like, attack, attack, and then run away, run away. So, where are we at?
No, where are we at?
Where are we at? Well, anyway, we can.
No. The C4C saying, just because you're right, we're talking about fire.
Yeah. Because a lot of times, all that you do by bringing certain things up is not create solutions, but create more problems, or creates a more inflammatory situation. Right. Again, it's game A stuff.
Inflammatory situation, like that. Yeah. Or I don't like that, but it's a good way of describing it.
Yeah.
What happens?
Yeah. So you get your high days, you get your low days. And that includes with people too, especially when you're working with other people, right? Because you have your own high and low day, and then you've got other people's high and low day. Now, I'm not even talking about emotions here. I'm just talking about productivity.
Yeah.
Right? Where your brain and everything's lining up, where you're actually doing things efficiently. You're actually doing something.
Right.
Not trying to do something. Right.
Things are happening.
Yeah.
Effortlessly.
Yeah. And like the Chinese Wu Wei. Yes, Wu Wei. So I keep throwing around the idea of having a phone that people can call in, but the problem is I don't want them calling when the show isn't on.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen, probably.
So I don't know. We'll have to think about that one some more. So I guess there's some announcements I should make before we go into our next topic, and then don't have enough time to talk about it. Right. And that is the merch section over at cfuzi.com, and you click the merch. We got a whole bunch of merch going now, and we're putting some time into the design and getting some more colors for the shirts and some pants and cell phone cases,
coffee mugs,
beach towels. Yeah,
that's
a lot of it with this design on it, and then there's just some other stuff. So if you want to have fun, even if you don't want to pick one up right now, which you do, check it out. There's some interesting designs. I'm really gonna put as many designs as I can, kind of come up with that I can be clever with. I don't think I've been like super clever. I've been kind of,
Well, I love the community service. Your whole idea, that's something you mentioned the second day you got here, what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
In the immediate neighborhood here. And
we got the Sifu Z community service shirts.
Yeah.
And Sifu Auto has a adopt a highway thing out in Hawaii. It's out there pick up litter on the highway, and an adopted part of the highway there. So I think, man, they should have shirts.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Send them out there.
yeah, that we're going to get some shirts, and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to do pickup in our community here.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great thing what they're doing out there.
So, and you know, you don't have to be actively training with us to get a bunch of Sifuzi community service shirts and slap them on the kids and then the friends, and go out there and pick up trash in the name of Kung Fu, in the name of human decency, you know. And I'm hoping that you know, because my website isn't just a place where it's a paywall, you know. If you don't have money, or you know, you don't have the funds, you could get involved in what we're doing in a very deep level. You could train, you know, and just get these concepts and share them with friends, family, the community, the neighborhood, you know. What concepts? Well, yeah, you have to listen. There's a whole bunch of concepts. Down in the description, I think we're still doing that. In the description, we got the Intro to Wing Chun video, the whole 24 lessons. And you can, you know, pick and choose which ones you want to focus on. So these concepts, which are personal physical concepts, translate into concepts that benefit the community by way of role model, by way of showing people integrity, structure, fortitude, caring, loving, stuff that I don't think we can have too much of, right? Yeah.
Oh, too much. Stop. No, I think we're a ways from that. Too much. We need a lot more right now.
You know, Wing Chun, one of the main concepts that, regardless of what school of Wing Chun you come from, there's this concept of center line, right? Shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. I think that's physics as well, or something, geometry maybe. But, you know, as Bucky Fuller explains to us, or at least has explained very well for me, is in nature, there are no straight lines. So that rings and resonates so well with me in Wing Chun, because when something happens, the first thing you do is you deal with it directly, unless, of course, you can't. Then you deal with it indirectly. And that sounds silly, but it's just so true. And it's something that it's easy to lose scope of. And when you do, bad things happen. It's just like when you're fighting, you don't give your back. You don't turn the wrong way. And the wrong way is the way that exposes your back.
Bad idea.
And it's a simple concept. Don't give your back. I've been training, well, since I was like, I don't know, 4, 6. I've been studying steady since I was 30, so I'm almost 60 now. So all I'm trying to say is I've been training a long time, and I still give my back. So these simple concepts that we think we can ignore will be the ones that will be the death of us. The devil is in the detail, and the detail is, do not give your back. Don't turn the wrong way. What's the wrong way? Well, you figure that out when you're training. That's why training is important. Even if you're never going to fight, even if you never get into a fight, the metaphor is deeply ingrained in your physiological muscle memory. and translates into your intellect and to the things that you do and say and be.
Yeah.
All right. So I
no, deal with it directly. And as you said, when something bad happens, you deal with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You ever
right away?
This
Don't turn your back on it and
I think
pile up your problems.
This has happened, I think, to everybody. That is, something happens, you don't deal with it right away, and then you deal with it a little later, like maybe an hour later or 5 minutes later. It all depends on the situation. If you deal with something right away, usually it's a lot more understood by the other person. When you wait a minute, a second, a day, an hour, a week, and then bring it up, oh man.
Yeah, it's huge difference.
Huge. So there's this directness that you first try to utilize. If the directness doesn't work, then you use indirectness. And you know what indirectness is?
We do an example. Well, you kind of do it in the other way. Like if you, rather than telling someone, maybe you have a better way of saying it.
If you're going to tell somebody the truth, make sure you make them laugh.
Right.
That's indirect. The direct way is meaning business. The indirect way usually requires.
Make it less hurtful.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we're getting into the drama and comedy aspects of human behavior. Yeah. And that's what I love about Wing Chun is in Wing Chun, we don't have to masturbate philosophically. I hate that.
Yeah. It's tiring.
I hate it. Yes.
I have to leave. I can't listen to it.
But the truisms that we can sort of discover about the psychology of the human being.
No, that's the interesting part.
That's subjective, not subjective. That's very concrete and very fascinating because we talk about it, but we don't ourselves get to escape it. Meaning that also allows us to say, hey, I can't say something about something if I ain't in it as well. Right. So these things that might come off as criticisms, well, yeah, that's right. I'm taking it personal too. Yeah,
for sure.
Okay, guys. I want to thank you. I want to thank Johan for being my co-host here and for being a Wing Chun man. There's not a lot of those around. No, man. Really wonderful. Doing Wing Chun.
Very fortunate to have you here. So thank you.
And being Wing Chun. Not just doing Wing Chun, being Wing Chun. That's what's so wonderful. So, and I want to thank you guys out there for being Wing Chun. And if you want to learn more, of course, you go to sifuzi.com. Our merchandise is up there. Just go sifuzi.com/merchandise, I believe it is. Or just go sifuzi.com. You'll see the link. And if you'd like to contribute a one-time contribution for any amount, you can do that over at paypal.me/sifuzi. That's also down in the description. And my music, you can find over at sifuzimusic.wordpress.com or just listen to Integrity Radio, which is at anchor.fm/integrity. We just did a new episode last night. So if you just can't get it, if you can't get enough of Wing Chun talk, then I've got about 4 seasons of Integrity Radio.
Yes, a lot of great music when you go back.
Which includes, I'm a musician, so it includes all of my music as well. I have to say that because when you say, they might think I'm just playing music.
Right.
And there's a lot of talk, but the talk is usually a bit more broad. Whereas this talk show is the opposite. It's gets everything and brings it into Wing Chun. Whereas that's everything. Funnels in the opposite direction there, if that makes any sense. Again, Integrity Radio is over there at anchor.fm/integrity. If you get the anchor.fm app on your phone, you can call in and leave a message, or you can even do a live thing and join in on the radio show or the podcast. I like calling it radio show because I'm an old guy.
Radio sounds nice.
But,
radio.
Yeah. And I actually did some new music as well last night.
Oh.
So piano, just some improv piano. The usual improv piano. You're welcome.
No, I did hear you were playing, but then I was just so tired. And
I lullabied you to sleep. That's great. I hate to do this because it looks like that dab thing. You ever the dab thing? I didn't know what that was until just recently. And it actually has to do with dabs. When you do dabs in your coffin and you're like this, right? And so it got turned into a dance, I guess, by a rapper.
I still didn't know.
So that's what it is. I know it bothered me for a long time too. I'm like, man, that for some reason that really bothers me. It can mean something else. It could mean COVID. So instead of dabs, it could mean COVID. Stay away from coughing, right?
6 feet.
6 feet, right? So now that dab thing went from annoying me to being like, okay, we should do that. Definitely do that. Cough the other direction. Warn me to go the other way. Right? I like that. So, I think that's it. We got to train.
We do.
Yeah. Right. If you want to train with us, you can train with us for as little as $1 a month. And we do live classes almost every day. Sometimes we take weekends off.
Monday to Friday, yeah.
Weekends. We're going to take all weekends off, especially when we do them out there, right? When we get out and do stuff. So, pretty much every day we do a live class. 10:30.
10:30 Mountain time.
10:30 Mountain time.
Yeah.
So if you don't live in the mountains here in Mountain Time, you're going to have to do the work, the math, the mathematics.
It's not too bad.
Yeah. And of course, you can join us here. We do this almost every day at 9:00 Mountain Time. And when I say join us, you can join us in the chat. And we'll try the best we can to navigate that world of chatting with folks. Yeah, it gets tricky because, somebody's got to read the other person is talking, keeping a conversation going. It's a little tricky. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us on this 7th episode.
Yep.
7th episode
of
Wing Chun Talk. We'll see you next time.